Bump that air conditioner down a couple of degrees.
You're on camera.
Kids, do we have quiet in the room? Please, we're going to start the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll follow in Bob's footsteps and give the invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful country we live in. We thank you for our abilities and our opportunity to take care of the people of Sumner County.
Yes.
We ask that you will put your wisdom on all of our thoughts, salt our tongues, and allow us to do the best thing we can for the county. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Before we approve the agenda, I would like to add a couple of things that got left off. One of the things that was supposed to be passed on to the November agenda was the ARPA funds that were left over from the election machines. So we can put that in old business as item G. And we had discussed, and we were going to talk about the Sumner County Administrative Building security needs. And we can make that item H. I would entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second.
Miller.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're starting off good. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended with, well, I guess they weren't amended. Any motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Kristen?
Miller.
And I'll second Holmes. Holmes.
Deborah Holmes. I am going to have a little bit of an extended report from the chair, not to belabor things, but to clarify some of the things that are further down in the agenda. And it has to do with many of the things that were discussed in the last agenda. So on 10/14, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Moss, Commissioner Jones, and I met with two members of the audio company that handles the sound in the main chambers. In about 2 hours, we corrected the problem so that the distortion is gone. We still have a little bit of work to do on the live feed. It's not as loud as it needs to be. It was satisfactory, but it could be better. I do have a call into them. Have not heard back yet since yesterday. On that same day, we inspected the roof of this building, and I was surprised to find that there was no wood timbers in the building. That was all steel, but there are issues with the roof. We walked on top, we looked at it in many locations on the bottom, and I just today got a synopsis from David Lawing on what has transpired in the last few years regarding repairs, replacement, and things that have happened. So I'm going to dig into that, and as soon as I have a history built, I'll bring it before, and maybe we can move forward as a group or several of us to research with roofers to see what we can do to fix that. We also looked at the HVAC system, mostly Commissioner Moss and I, but Commissioner Jones was there too. We have some minor issues that we need to look at, and as soon as I am able to get a hold of our current HVAC maintenance company, we will do some inspecting there as well. On 10/27, I was invited by Planning Director Josh Suddeth and met over at 1019 Union School Road, where we own a building. There is a 6,200 square foot portion of that building that has become available as the state has vacated it. It was also at that meeting was Marshall Boyd, who's an engineer with the county, and Mayor Isbell was there. And we discussed this as a possible location for the maintenance group, so that we can get them out of our basement here. And we can, when it comes up on the agenda, I would assume we need to make a motion to move forward on cost breakdowns and stuff, so we can.
Whenever you have a plan to go forward.
Okay, great, thank you. Then I was invited yesterday by Director Ken Widener to meet. He and Chief Miller. Also present were Dale Allen, Mickey Summers, and Mayor Isbell. We discussed the anticipated approval of the the building that I just mentioned. And if that goes through, then we will only need about half of the building that we were going to build on Airport Road, which is a great savings. In the meeting, we discussed the 30,000 square foot of warehouse they currently have in that building. And it was my objective, if possible, to rearrange equipment and vehicles in such a way as to fit everything in the existing building. In a subsequent email from Chief Miller today, he and the director are looking forward to working with me on that. And if we can save the county money by not building anything, we will do it. If it's absolutely necessary to build more building to house whatever else is left over, then we will talk about that. But at this point, it's in flux. We're still talking, and we'll move forward as the three of us agree, and then we'll bring it here to this committee at that time. And then directly after that.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
On that one item. So the new building, are we using county funds for that?
That building was going to be built mostly with COVID funds. I believe, Mr. Mayor, it was $3 million that was allotted for that.
It's a little more than that.
Is it the
But it was all the ARPA
Yeah.
funds.
3.4 million, but the most recent bid that came in was 4.2. So we were gonna have a shortfall. Now, if I understood you correctly, Mr. Mayor, if we cut the building in half and it was, say, $2 million, we would still have 3 million allotted for it, or 3.4?
Well, we would just use that much of the ARPA funds.
Right, and we would have,
And we were talking about wanting to transfer the money from the voting machines when we were talking about the full concept.
right,
But it's more of a 60-40 split, so it would be saving about 40% was the maintenance side.
okay, so
Yeah.
big savings for the county, good deal.
With the ARPA funds? Do we have plans for the other portion of the ARPA funds?
We have till December 31st, 2024 to use, to decide what to use those funds for. And, you know, I mean, we're two years down the
Yeah.
road.
Okay.
Anything could happen, but I'm pinching pennies as well. as
Yeah,
we can.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I did have another question too on
Sure.
the first part of the report about the sound system, the roof inspection, the HVAC system inspection. Just as I'm listening to that, and I'm wondering, do we not have a maintenance director for the county?
John, can you speak?
We
to
do.
Okay.
Is he currently working?
No, he's out for another week. We still have a full maintenance staff,
Okay.
but the director is out due to an injury.
He's been out for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah. Now, would he handle the roof, the air conditioning, the
That
sound
typically
system?
is handled through my office.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Okay.
No,
Great.
no, we're good, yeah.
And so directly from that meeting, I went over to the old county courthouse because I had contacted, I don't know how many of you know, we have a county interface on the new courthouse, and his name is Randall Coy. And he arranged a meeting for me to meet Judge Joe Thompson, who was the most knowledgeable man on the fire that happened on the top of the unfinished county courthouse. So It was Randall Coy, myself, Judge Joe Thompson, and John Isbell was there as well. And just the long and short of it is the TBI has determined it was arson. They have video of two people leaving a black Mustang, climbing up in the building, leaving, and then the smoke billowing out. That was from two different cameras, I think, right, John? So there are no ramifications to us as a county except the delays. The entire roof had to be replaced. And fortunately, none of the air conditioning equipment had been lifted up there. It was going up the next day.
It was supposed to be up earlier that week and got delayed for weather. If those would have caught on fire, we'd probably never get the thing open just because it'd be 3 years to replace
Yeah,
it.
those things are 15 feet tall, 15 feet wide, and 40 feet long, and there's two of them, and they would have been fried. So, we'd also discussed the parking structure, but that's a fluid situation.
Could we ask a question about the fire? thing?
Sure.
Is our insurance covering that?
That, I believe, is going to be
Construction.
handled by the
Construction
Contractor.
company,
Builder.
it's
Yeah.
their
yeah,
responsibility.
until they turn the building over to us, complete turnkey, they are responsible
And
for it.
going forward, are they responsible for the security of that building?
Yes,
They are.
they are, and interestingly enough, the day before the fire, there is some sort of a machine, John may know more about it, but it registered 8 lightning strikes on that building. One of them knocked out the controls of the crane, the other knocked out the camera system for security on the building. So it was just bad luck.
Yeah.
So this, things to come, is that like the tallest structure in the area? This is,
I don't know, but we
The
gotta
way
get
it's
the
gonna
lightning
be for
strikes under control.
yeah, I mean, how you gonna plan for that in the future? 8 in one day seems like it's a magnet.
Yeah,
So
yeah, well,
I would hope that the contractors or whoever the people that did the plans of the building can
I meant-
calibrate for that.
I meant to ask Randall about that, and I will ask him if we're doing anything to, you haven't heard, have you, Mayor?
No, I'm sure there'll be some type of grounding done up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a very tall building compared to these people.
But it is all steel, and it is
Yeah.
anchored to the ground, and it should have been grounded, so I'm not sure why it took 8 hits that day, but.
The other thing is, this is obviously gonna throw a timeline delay on it, having to redo the roof and everything. Is there penalties in place for not finishing on time or anything like that, that is also gonna be
Well, according to
responsible-
Randall,
responsibility?
the builder has been able to work some miracles. And they've saved us a ton of money and time in just their clout as a builder. They've been able to do some things, or at least that's what Randall Coy said to us in this meeting.
They've been able to replace that product by being able to pull it from other projects and get that product
The roof
back in,
product?
the root product, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've got 8 inches to 16 inches of foam up there, and they were able to get it right up.
You mentioned security on this, right? So they're gonna take steps for security. What, how come there was, I'm not sure, was there security previous to this incident? And if there wasn't, then why? And if there was, then what happened that if they did have security prior to this incident, what slipped through the cracks that these individuals were able to do this? Did they indicate that, or?
Well, we've had 2 cases of vandalism earlier. You know, one was graffiti painting, and the other one.
On fire extinguishers.
Fire
They were
extinguishers.
shooting off some fire extinguishers,
So,
kids,
I don't believe they have manned security, they just had video security.
just video, and they have increased the security, the cameras. They only had that one, and after the vandalism happened, they went ahead and ordered more cameras to increase security. And unfortunately, those cameras just hadn't arrived yet.
So now, if another incident like this should happen, gosh forbid, but let's hope it don't, and someone gets hurt by their stupidity of doing something like this, and they turn around and file a lawsuit, that, I don't want to assume this, but I would think that would be the construction company's responsibility and not fall on the county.
We don't own it until we have the
Someone
keys,
was
right?
That's why I just wanna make sure, cause you know,
Is
you
that
don't
the case,
assume
John?
anything in this stuff.
Yeah, we don't own it until we have the keys.
Commit a crime,
Yeah.
yeah, we're fine.
We're
with the
fine.
lawsuit, yeah. I'm not worried about that at all.
So, Mr. Mayor, would you like to speak to, or are you able to speak to the funding of the parking structure at this point, or is it still
I
so
think,
fluid?
yeah, I think it's a little fluid right now. I'd rather wait until we have some more meetings
Okay.
and try to work this thing out.
The one thing about the parking structures, it had been delayed since March by AT&T, and they finally got their cables out of the way on the 21st of October. So will it affect anything? Not really, because we're still not going to be done with the building till September of 2023, and that parking structure should take a lot less time to build, so we're okay, and we're not paying interest on construction fees or anything like that, so it's different.
Yeah, and, you know, I will say that, Gallatin has committed to 2.4, so, as well as 1.2 for the Smith Street widening. So, they've got about 3.6, and we're working on some other things.
So it's all good news on that front. And with that, we'll move on to report from the mayor.
Oh. All right, there were several things that I was tasked with on the last meeting, and they're all under old business. If you want me to, I'll be happy to address them as we come to them, or I can go through them all right now. It's your choice, Mr. Chairman.
I think if you go through them right now, it may shorten the time on
Okay.
items.
The IT surplus, those items are mentioned, they're listed. The list was completed to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, with the equipment being purchased by various departments at various times, it's really difficult to put an actual time on them when they were purchased. But they did go through and put as close as they could on the dates. Valuing it, again, was difficult because we just don't sell computer equipment like that very often. Heating and air in the county administration building. I'm currently working with a company right now. One thing that we're doing is on Monday nights, we are not turning off the system. The way the system works right now, it's an energy saving type of program to where it automatically cuts off at 5 o'clock and then ramps back up in the morning. So what we're gonna do, since the meetings run so late on Monday nights, I've just said, don't cut it off on Monday nights. You know, because if you cut it off at 11 o'clock, there's really no need to cut it off. It's, you know, you ramp up, ramp down, or you ramp down, then ramp up times, doesn't work. So we're gonna leave it on. We're also gonna go through some additional training with the maintenance crew, and we're gonna update some access credentials. What that's gonna do is bring more power inside, we'll be able to control the system more internally, rather than having to rely on calling them. And all of that's because this is a computerized system. And so we're going to go through the training on the computerized system. I'm going to go through the same training. That way, if I'm stuck here and no maintenance crew's here, I can go in and fix it if we've got a problem. So that's what we're doing with the heating and air in the county administration building. And I think that's going to solve the issues that we've had.
Too cold, too hot.
Won't make everybody happy. Some people are always going to be cold. Some people are always going to be hot. But it's the best that we're going to be able to do. The iPad usage, somebody asked about the iPads, wanted a report on how that worked. Basically, that was purchased with grant money during COVID. And one of the things that the offices and I did as assessor was put together a program to where employees could work from home and be able to do their work. So we migrated from desktop units to laptop units that were docked at the desk. So they could just leave with their laptop and go home and work if they had to stay home. You know, because there was that time period when the building was shut down and then we was running half half-staff, trying to separate everybody and meet all those requirements. That was the genesis of that program. They wanted the iPads for county commissioners so they could do the meetings. If anybody knows about the iPads, they're very restricted on use. It's just commission use. So we do have some iPads left, but that was a specific purpose, was to provide commissioners with the opportunity to have access during COVID. The county administration building security system. We are currently working with the telecommunications company that will be going into the Justice Center. Once that's set up in the Justice Center, we're going to have to mirror that. We're going to have to upgrade our systems. Our phone systems are very archaic right now, and we'll have to upgrade them. So what we're trying to do is we go through this upgrade that we implement some type of intercom system to where anybody can pick up the phone, hit the intercom, and make an announcement that will go through the speaker system on all the phones. So you'll be able to alert everybody that, hey, stay in your office, intruder on duty, active shooter, whatever. They'll be able to pick up that phone. So that's a process that we're going through with the telecommunications company to see if that's something we can do. And I'm awaiting that answer back from IT as they work on that. The Cottontown FEMA mitigation project, I've been in contact with Donna Holden at TEMA to discuss our options with the hazard mitigation project. This was a program that the owners of the two properties entered into, and just to make a long story short, because I want the options out there, and then this body will make the decision on which option is best. And so this comes from Douglas Wharton, who's the state hazard mitigation manager. He's the one that's over the hazard mitigation programs. And if anybody doesn't know what the hazard mitigation program, I'll be happy to do a 5-minute overview. Otherwise, I'll stick to the facts on the letter and let the decisions go from there. Mary Isbell, this letter is to give direction on the options left for the FEMA hazard mitigation project in number 4320. 4320 is the acquisition and demolition of two properties in Cottontown. 2265 Highway 25 has been acquired and demolished. That was the two units across the street.
That was this general store.
The old general store and Ogilvy's house. Then across the street we have the post office and the old Draper house. So 2268 Highway 25 Cottontown has been acquired but has not been demolished. So we're looking at the possibility. I said, what we want to do is relocate both projects. And so looking at the possibility of relocating the structure to another area. We've reviewed and confirmed with our FEMA liaison on the options are available to Sumner County to do with this HMGP 4320 acquisition demolition project in Cottontown. FEMA has told us there are two options to move forward now. One, if you choose to relocate a structure from 2268 Highway 25 property, FEMA will only cover the cost of the appraisal and the basic legal costs, such as title search. The property cost will not be included since the property will not be demolished. You can choose to withdraw this property, but you will have to absorb the cost of the property. Or you can choose to continue the current project and demolish all structures on the property at 2268 Highway 25. Regulations require all structures to be demolished within 90 days of property acquisition. Because the property was purchased back in March of 22, it's out of compliance now. If you want to relocate the old storage building, which that's what they refer to as the Draper House, post office on the property, you will need to request a change in the scope of work from FEMA first before you move forward with this option. Now, to request a scope of change, Some of the things that we need to do, one, we need to know where we're gonna locate it. We're gonna need quotes on that location. We're gonna need a structural engineer study to determine soundness. We'll need the location and environmental study of that location of where we're gonna move the house. And then we'll need a cost-benefit analysis. That was where that November 11th, they felt that having it in by that time frame would give them the best opportunity to go through the information and get it through the process. Personally, I don't think they can get it through the process because it took them 2 years on round one. So I don't know if they can do that. I don't know if they can get that back for us to rescope that project to where we would move both properties. So those are the two options that we have right now. You know, it's based on the conversation that I've heard. Option one, withdrawing it from the FEMA program, that would cost the county, I believe, a little over $121,000. That would be monies that we will lose in the process. The monies have already been paid because we've already paid the owners. It's just we would not be reimbursed from FEMA on those projects.
Okay.
I got a
I'll be
question.
happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Could you go over the November 11th timeline again? What was the reason for submitting
Oh,
that
that's if-
by that time?
If we want to change what we want to do, see, the original scope was to move the post office and tear down the old Draper House. That was the original project as scope. To change that, we have to rescope, resubmit, and get a new approval.
Why by November 11th?
Because we have until June 23rd to have this project completed. We're already out of compliance. We were given 2 extensions. One extension was due to COVID, and the second extension was due to the Ogilvy's requested more time to move property out. She wanted to get some more things off the property. And it's June 23 of 2023. So it has to be completed by that time period. Otherwise, there's no reimbursement whatsoever.
So 7 months from basically now, we have to have the building either demolished or moved off the property.
Well, we
Is
have
that
to.
what you're saying?
Yeah, but we have to rescope it to do anything now because it's out of compliance.
Rescope meaning what?
Which means we have to resubmit these items to them and get them to approve it again.
FEMA,
FEMA, yeah,
in order to get the money that we already paid out.
right.
And just to back up even further, why do we have to move these buildings? I've been told a couple different things that because they're in a floodplain.
Mhm.
But I've been told they're actually not in a floodplain. There is a floodplain nearby that they aren't in it. And in, for full transparency, Mr. Chairman, can we get like a real map so that all of us can see this, what we're being told?
Yeah, I didn't get over there yesterday.
So,
I would love to see a map that shows that floodplain and that house together and where they converge, just for full transparency to the public and to us, so we know what we're voting on.
right, well, to qualify for this program, the house would have had to flood it 3 times. It flooded in 2010, 2016, 2017. Once it flooded 3 times, they put, if I remember correctly, after first flood, they put $146,000 into the house. Flooded in 10 and then flooded in 17. They got 121 out of it. But that's the process to qualify.
That was just the house, right?
Yeah.
What about the other property?
The other property, same thing. It has to flood 3 times to qualify for,
And it has documented flood
and
3
it has
times.
documented. Yeah, it has claims against the flood insurance.
So if I'm
Yeah, they can't just call them and say, our house flooded 3 times, will you buy it from us?
So does it have to be in a floodplain, or does it just have to have had flooded?
It would have had to have flooded, and it would have been in a floodplain because it requires flood insurance. And basically what FEMA's saying is that we're not gonna insure it, it's just not feasible, it's insure it, it's better to buy it, and then just make open space out of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I would just
Mr.
like to
Mayor,
see
I'm looking at the documents that I requested from you today, and it appears that that transaction happened February 15th of 2022. Am I reading it right?
That may have been the final, yeah, when they got to the final point.
Yeah, Nathan.
But they made, let's see, September and October of 2017 is when the process was started. That's when the property owners requested the property to be put into that mitigation grant program.
But 90 days from February 15th is May 15th. And so we're way.
Oh, yeah, we're way over. And we were granted 2 extensions. And the drop deadline now, because there are no more extensions, is June 23rd of 23.
Okay.
Chair, can I ask the mayor a question?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You mentioned how if we did want to rescope to move both properties, we would have to eat the cost of the price of the structure. It being flooded several times, what is the actual value of the structure itself? How much is that? Do we know?
That I don't know. That would require a structural engineer. I think some other people have seen it and said that structurally it seems fine. So moving it from that property may be a good, but I'm not qualified to make that choice.
I just wondered if the value is most emotional or if it was actually would have a significant dollar value.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, I think, just talking, I think we need to find out if it's truly in a floodplain, because when I have looked at the Sumner GIS, the only thing that looks like it's in the floodplain is the one we're saving, which is the Bridal House. So I think we need to find out, and I will take that on myself to.
What years did you say it flooded?
2010,
2010,
16,
2010.
and 17.
500 year flood.
I don't know if, I really don't know if that's gonna help you. It really does, I don't know.
Well,
We can punt and I can bring maps next time it shows whatever's there.
Yeah, and that was my question. Determining if it's in a floodplain at this point, we're already in the FEMA funding phase. The money's already been spent, so those decisions have already been made. And going back, if it's in a floodplain, help me understand how that helps us where we are today.
well,
They're required to move. I want to see if
Well, they're
it's
required.
They're required to move regardless if it is or isn't. It sounds like, unless I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, I don't want to misunderstand. If we bought it back from FEMA,
Well, yeah, we wouldn't be buying it back.
We'd be getting reimbursed.
We would just not be reimbursed. So basically what we would say
Waive
is,
the reimbursement.
I would draft a letter to FEMA, and if that's the will of this body, I would say, we wish to withdraw this property from this project. And
that's why I would want to find out if it's truly in a floodplain or just was.
well, it's flooded 3 times.
Well, I realize
Whether it is in a
that, but you have to
floodplain or not.
understand that the cutouts on each side of that road are ridden with lumber and trees and stuff, and when it hits a culvert and backs up, you've got all kinds of mess. My partner lives right up there, so, and if people don't keep the gully open, then that happens. And so, being in a floodplain is one thing, being in a creek that
Is in
overflows
disrepair.
its banks because culverts were plugged up is another.
Same
so,
thing's happening behind my house. People down the hill from me,
yeah, so.
dredge it out.
Okay, well, we're not to the item yet, so thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Not a problem.
for your report. Now we have recognition of the public. Do we have a list? No. Is there anybody? Nobody wants to speak.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. Okay, so we've heard about.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was asked a question.
No, it's fine.
Unofficially.
Okay, so item 8A, old business, surplus IT department, various items, which Mayor just talked about. It sounds to me, Ben, do you want to address this?
Sure. So Commissioner Boyd found this group that worked with people with different disabilities, primarily autism, who worked on computer training, and we're hoping to donate to them. We talked, she spoke to the person in charge of the local group, who honestly believed they were a nonprofit, but when they dug further, they realized they weren't. Because they're a nonprofit, we can't donate to them.
We can't donate to them.
Yeah, we can. So we're left with either throw the stuff away or try to auction it off.
So it's, if you just surplus it, the policy is to then it goes on the gov deal, so unless we're told otherwise.
Okay. So, I guess rather than throw it away, I would entertain a motion to
Surplus.
surplus it.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so that's Tim
Sorry.
and Don Schmidt seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one thing, I'd like to offer an amendment to that motion, and it's just to pull the items off that were purchased in 19 and 18. And just, I talked to IT about, hey, these seem to be fairly new. Why, well, I say purchased, they're manufactured in 18 and 19. So those seem to be fairly new. I'd just like to have a little more information on those items. Why are those going? I asked the question for IT, and when I talked to Kyle today, he said he wasn't able to make a determination. So maybe pull those, with the exception of those newer items.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And the
Change the motion to everything except the ones dated 18 and 19
So
until we look at that.
everything pre-18, basically.
Yes.
Correct,
Yes.
yeah.
17 of that, okay. You're okay?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay.
that-
Good catch, Wes.
That's
Good,
fine.
good suggestion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item B, Cottontown County Property Hazard Mitigation Grant Project, which we just heard about.
We bumping that to next month?
I don't know that we have all the information that we need, so I would entertain a motion to move that to.
I'll make a motion to move that to next month.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Chrissy Miller made the motion, Deborah Holmes seconded.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had, it was the November 11th. What was that deadline?
That's if you're wanting to rescope it,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, cause we'd have to,
And so for us to move those buildings, we need to rescope
or pull it out,
or pull it out.
yeah.
So it sounds like we need to make a decision today.
No, the motion's already been made
That-
and
but
seconded. We need to vote.
Can we?
We can amend the motion, but
It's just a question, because if today's November.
we need to address
1,
the
yeah,
November 11th. We don't
Yeah.
have to decide on
Make a
it.
decision, but if we have a
But we have to do
deadline on the
something with
11th
it.
to do something, then
I would point out that the full commission doesn't meet until after the 11th anyways, and any action of this body would have to go to full approval before anything could be done.
Good, well, I mean, can I ask the question to Mayor is, do you believe that that was a in stone thing or something they would like to see?
You know, it's something that they really feel like they need, given their workload. Can it be fudged a couple of weeks? I'm sure it can. Yeah,
so as far as the rescoping goes,
it's just us being able to get all that work done.
is that feasible in, 10 days would be tight,
It's,
even by the end of the month?
I mean, we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, and my thinking is that.
We gotta bid that out.
We had a bid for the removal
public too.
Yeah.
and replace, or the dismantling and rebuilding of the post office. If we can leave it on the same property, if we can, we will save that 68,
You can't leave it on the same property. That's off the table.
66,000.
Can't live in the same place or on the
You
same
have to-
property.
Yeah, you have
at
to move it
all.
off that parcel, yeah. Which, I mean, we can move it right next door. I think that's kind of what they want.
Is that even including if they take the option for just asking to be removed from the program and to not be reimbursed at all? If,
Well, all bets are off then.
okay,
Then, you know, if we remove it from the program, eat the cost, then we can take a step back and figure out what we want to do.
That would be property purchase too, is it
Yeah.
purchase of the property also, or just the,
Yeah, no, we've purchased the property.
we would get reimbursed for property?
yeah, we wouldn't be
We would
reimbursed
be
at
out the
all.
$121,000.
Any of the demolition, any of
Right.
the moving, or more than that. If you're gonna move that building, it was $66,000 alone, but we weren't getting reimbursed anyway. So you got the purchase of the land and the demolition.
I'm saying all we got out right now is 121, right?
I'd have to look, John.
It's
may know.
121 in
That's
the
right.
legal costs, which, they're not that much.
That includes demolition and everything?
Well, there is no demo on that property. The other one, we will get reimbursed. They're two separate projects. So across the street, we're gonna get reimbursed because all that's been done. These are the properties that we're working on right now.
Okay.
Draper House and the old post office.
Post office.
And if we move it to next month, which I have absolutely no problem doing, what do you want from my office?
Well, I would like to know if it's truly in a floodplain or just a victim of a flooded creek.
Yeah, do you want me to bring a map, or do you want to just research it on your own? You can look on our GIS system and
But
find out.
I think we need an overlay though. I don't just want to see a map of the lay of the land. I want to see the house on it or the building on it.
Okay, so if, John, if you can get an overlay,
Or at least two maps that we could ratio and
Let me
same.
see if I can bring it up right now.
Can I ask a question in the meantime? David, do you know how much we've got in the two properties we've already
No, that
demolitioned?
Not without looking, not off the top of my head. I know it was
Ballpark?
66. It was 66 to, around 66 to move the one.
No, the ones that we've demolished.
yeah, he's trying to subtract it out.
Oh, gotcha.
Can't recall, because we had some that were covered by the county and some that were covered by the demolition, so I'd have to go up there and separate them out. It's kind of commingled. We can pull that.
Yeah. I'll probably get you that information too real quick.
Maybe Kim administers that one, so I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
John, do you know off the top of your head what the cost would be to rescope? No. There is cost involved with that.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember, is there a motion on
Yes,
What is
we
the
just
motion?
are waiting to vote.
The motion was to move.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second on the
To
table.
move,
the floor? Second.
yeah.
Well, should we just go forward with the motion?
Yes.
It sounds like we can't do a whole lot of damage by doing that. It will give us the time to work. Any other discussion? Yes?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, does that close the section B out? Is there any discussion going on about the properties of the ones that have the demolished buildings
Well,
yet? Nothing yet?
they're owned by the county now, I believe, and that's all been satisfied. And so, it was just the one with the post office and the house on it that is
Okay.
left, so.
Okay.
Okay, we discussed, both the mayor and I discussed item C, which is heat and air and administration building. I don't believe there's anything to make a motion on or to vote on there. We're just proceeding.
I had a question about that, the
Yeah.
heat and air.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything we can do? I know, he's satisfied, you know, about making things a little bit better, but if there is an occurrence where, for instance, tonight, where we had a packed room and we brought in extra chairs and we have no control over that thermostat bumping it down 2 degrees, is there anything we can do to
Yeah,
have
we're gonna have that
immediate
control.
access?
Yeah.
Somebody that'll be here, who would that be?
Yeah, that's the additional training and access credentials.
So we'll still have to
When is
call
that
somebody.
gonna
So
happen?
I'll have access to
There will
it
be, somebody will be
Yes.
available at every meeting.
at every meeting.
Okay.
And when will that take place?
We'll probably get it done next week.
Okay.
So for
Should
the
we,
next meeting,
should we
that'd be
make a
nice.
motion to move that to the December agenda? And that way we can get an
Just for
update at
follow-up?
the time, a follow-up?
I think you just ask him to have it under the report of the chair next month.
Okay,
Yeah.
Want to report on it?
yeah, great, thank you. Okay. Discussion on health department in Hendersonville. To start this off, I sent an email to Hal Hendricks today. As you all know, that several of the commissioners went over and inspected the 4,000 square foot building in Hendersonville. And it was quite enlightening, and we all realized how little we knew about the health department. So what I have requested from Hal Hendricks is a lot of factual information on paper, who his employees are, what all the functions of the health department are, how many people visit each different facility in a year's time, a lot of stuff like that, and then a tour by any of the commissioners that want to go. So I have not heard back as of an hour ago. So I will stay on top of that, and we can, I guess I would entertain.
Hey, before you do a
Yeah,
motion,
uh-huh.
I'll ask you a question.
Mhm.
Sorry, did you also inquire to him about the demographics of the people that do visit?
I didn't, but you know what, I can add that to it because.
Because that's a big deal of discussion.
Yeah, one of the things we discovered when we went there is 40% of the people who visit that facility are not in the county, in Sumner County. And so that's a cost. I did ask him to break out what the state paid for, what the county paid for. So, no, you know what, Tim, I did ask him.
I thought you did. I just wanted that to be on public record.
Yeah,
But,
I did ask in that email if he could tell us how many people were in county and how many people were out of county.
so I don't know who all on this committee is also in emergency services, but we saw that Robertson County was basically taking advantage of our services and our ambulances out there. And we can't provide services for other counties at our cost. And if it's a state-run facility, we need to look at why is the state, you know, should they be helping us more than they are if we're servicing people all over the state with our county money? That's not really fair. So we wanted to get these numbers and see, you know, if it is indeed fair, if we need to ask for something or push back some on that.
You did mention about the employees, just for everyone's information, generally admin staff are county employees, the medical staff are state employees. So receptionist at the front desk would be one of ours. The nurse that gives you your flu shot is not a county employee, that'd be a state employee.
I was talking about visitors.
I just know that,
Yeah, I was talking about staff, and that facility only has a nurse practitioner once a week, so. that-
And we were discussing with one of them, I asked them, you know, how much, you know, percentage-wise, how many more people, for lack of better terms, are utilizing this elderly? She said, you'd be shocked. She goes, most of our people coming here are six-figure income people that were laid off, lost their job due to the pandemic, and lost their health insurance. And, because I was kind of concerned, you know, for the people that didn't have insurance, you know, for lack of income, and surprisingly, she's saying six-figure income.
I mean, it is a service, it is a cost to the county, just need to make sure it's not costing us, where it shouldn't.
Right.
And I think too, one thing worth noting with this whole thing is, and I don't know that this came before this body, but I remember Commissioner Mansfield had noted that his constituents in his district do not have any interest in building a new health department in there. I've talked to several residents myself in my district, and I know.
It's
Commissioner-
actually in my district,
And
in
you're- and I was gonna
24.
mention
And
too,
I have
yeah.
talked to many people and there's zero. Do what?
Used to be mine.
It used to be
Right, and when
Commissioner
you go back to
Mansfield.
the August commission meeting, when the citizens of your district and, you know, Commissioner Teachner, I believe, had some people, and as well as Mansfield, they did not want beach commons there. So the thing is why would we want a health department in our backyard? We don't. So I think we really need to do our due diligence and looking at what we've got right now and seeing what we can do maybe, and I know that's far, you said that was far down the road, but what we can do to remedy some of these problems. One of them was termite infestation. And I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but I was told that this thing was riddled with termites, that the walls were gonna come down. My curiosity got the best of me, is disclosure. I've been inspecting homes for real estate agents for 25 plus years. So most people, when they come to me and say, this thing's just eaten up with termites, they visibly see the drywall, they can see the studs inside the drywall. I'm thinking, okay, that's what we're gonna see here today. There were little, and you remember this, there were little exit holes that the termites were making in building the termite tunnels on the outside. I hit the walls in several different areas. I think you were with me, or Commissioner Brown was next to me, and you kind of laughed, what are we doing here? Tapping the wall. I'm like, well, I'm trying to see if there's any damage that I can detect or any sound of dirt falling in between those areas. I said, this is very treatable. Disclosure, I work for a company that treats for that, but I have no interest in, I wouldn't anyway, but I have no interest in doing anything. I recommended to Hal Hendricks that day, you guys need to get a professional licensed pest control company, not of my choosing, someone that is gonna, properly treat this and give you a warranty every year so they can come back and, if they have termites again, they're gonna back their work up. And his concern was, well, if we treat this, what about the employees, the odor, et cetera? I said, well, most good companies, I work for a company that would treat it after hours.
Right.
And take a long weekend, have them do it. So I'm only mentioning this because I think a lot of times we hear these scare tactics like, oh, the walls are coming down, and we just have to bulldoze this thing and start over. I just want to make it clear, Commissioner Mansfield made it very clear that his constituents do not want a health department
Neither
in
do
their
mine.
district, as well as Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Teachner. So Commissioner Brown.
No.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
I just don't think that it's a good idea to abandon this area because it's
No.
right next to the hospital.
Exactly.
That to me just is illogical.
Right.
Because they are right there.
It's the
If there's
perfect
any kind
spot
of,
for one.
Extensive, medical need, boom, you take them right over.
You're right.
You take them over there to Shackle Island, you're gonna have to do an ambulance ride, it might cost the life of the patient.
To kind of answer Commissioner Jones's question, the county directly appropriates $309,162 a year to the health department. There's a DGA grant of about almost 1.7 million, and there's several directly funded employees over there. But
DGA.
with direct grant access, they basically give
From the
us
state.
flow through money from the state. Well, the state and feds, it's mixed together. But the state actually has direct employees, so you would have to get from Hal Hendricks how much money they're directly putting over there, because my understanding is the majority of it's probably direct state employees.
Is that the entire health department or just that facility?
That's all the facilities.
All the facilities.
That's all the
combined?
facilities combined.
I would just like to see what we can do further with the existing building and maybe do a little more research on that before we talk about scrapping an entire building
Yeah,
to build a new building.
And that's why I've requested a tour in the documentation, because clearly none of us really understand what goes on.
You may have been getting ready to make that motion. I just wanted to have a little bit of discussion before that to make sure it was all included in anything that you were getting ready to say.
Yeah, no,
So I apologize.
That's great, that's great.
So I agree with Commissioner Jones on that, not to scrap that building in totality, but I know I've asked you this question, and who actually owns the building? You look in GIS, it appears the school board owns that building. Who owns the building?
I don't know.
Wasn't it county-owned building, but properties,
Yeah,
school,
That's what we were told.
something like
The-
that?
County-owned
the
building,
school board
and if we
definitely-
abandon it, it'd go back to Merrill Hyde.
The school board definitely owns the property, and by virtue of that, if it's abandoned, it would go back to the Board of Education. And the fact is, it is greatly needed. That's probably to operate a campus of K through 12. It is probably one of the most crowded campuses in the school system. I'd be happy for it to leave, but it would go back to the Board of Education. And I hope that people don't overlook the fact that if something does have to be done with the health department building, there are a number of hospital complexes being built right there across Forest Retreat in that big area there. And if we want it to remain near a hospital, perhaps if someone will look into it, perhaps even the hospital corporation would want to jump in and help with the construction of a building, and it would still be there with a hospital complex and other hospital buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like we're so early on in discovery that.
But it is board property.
But it is board property, okay. All right, so shall we move it down? Just should we make a motion to move it to?
Do we have some planned research that's going to happen in the
I'm
next little
waiting
bit?
to hear from Al Hendricks
He requested.
on that. I assume he will get me all the information I'm asking for.
I'll make that motion that we move it to next month's agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We already discussed the maintenance facility building, and that's in a fluid motion right now with myself and the chief and the director. So I would entertain
I just wanted to apologize on a little confusion with the agenda. I know last month when we got to the ARPA funds and the maintenance funds, we realized we were talking about the same thing on both items. So when Ramona was going over the agenda, I said, just do the maintenance fund because the ARPA funds was talking about the maintenance facility, and that's where that confusion
I have a
is.
question, if it's okay.
Sure.
I think it actually, technically, if it's on old business or new business and they take no action, doesn't it drop back to old business automatically? So you really don't have to take a motion in a second.
Okay.
Which may save you some time just by saying
Thank
you
you.
want it on the old business and just go ahead and go.
Appreciate that.
Just a thought.
Well, that'd be wonderful. If
Good
there's
thought.
no questions and no disagreement, we can just bypass it and let it go to old business.
Sure.
All right, and the EMS facility would fall into the same category. Let's see, what did I say? G was?
Election machine money.
1.5 ARPA.
Oh, yes.
And that's discussion from budget was possibly using the 1.5 for the shortfall in the maintenance facility, so that's why it was removed, because we thought it would be covered under that one item.
Yeah, I think it's still floating out there, so we could just allow that to move on to the next item.
Old business.
It's a great idea.
And then,
Did you move F to December?
Yes.
Yeah, he said it's moved the same
Yes.
with the E.
and you covered the security system, and you're gonna, I guess, we can put,
I think honestly, if it's just gonna be done with the phone system's updated, there's not really any action for this body to take. So I don't know if that needs to go back in old business.
okay, we can just let that drop off, and at which time we need to put a security system, I'm sure you'll bring it forward. Okay,
And there's panic buttons in this building too.
yeah.
So
Okay, so new business, parking garage in the new courthouse, we've covered.
That's still a fluid situation right now that we're working on the pricing on it. So, I would like for you to move it to December, and I'll have more information for you, so you can make a better decision.
Question on that. You said in your report that Gallatin did commit to pay the 2.4.
That was the original.
Was that the original amount? So they
That's
have-
the original amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was an issue, but now it's not.
It's not an issue.
Well, I think the fees.
But there's, we're talking about it.
They're still discussing it.
The fees.
So I'd like to move that to December.
Okay, we have, could we get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item B, Oak Grove Fire Department.
That's one budget is sent, the survey and the environmental, which I think is geotechnical to budget, but talking to the chairman for emergency services, he had several questions, whether it was a new building or add-on and things, so he wanted to send it to Gen Ops for further exploration.
Okay, so it is in our lap.
Right, he sent you the email, but I think he's gonna take some research.
Okay, okay.
And I have requested some of the information from Boyd, he is their engineer, the county engineer.
Marshall Boyd.
Marshall Boyd to talk to.
Okay.
The estimate of it right now is 406,969, but I think more of the questions were how close it was to property lines, size, which is a separate building, and several of those questions. We wanted somebody from the general office to explore.
Okay, so I should arrange a meeting with him.
Probably with Mr. Boyd or the general office chairman, which I think he's in the back.
Health and Emergency Services.
I'm sorry, I said Health and Emergency Services.
Oh, okay, okay.
He's right
Daryl
there.
actually,
Just
Daryl's
leave
right
it.
there. I'm sorry, it was Daryl actually, because there were several questions he had about it. Because he was told it was a new building and an add-on, I think it kind of went back and forth.
And that's the general question that we had, if it's gonna be a new building or in addition to clearance of the tower by EMA, and I think we're good to go on that. But the actual survey, we don't know how much land is coming from Resource Authority. Still a lot of working questions there, but we did send that out to get that done.
So it's been sent to budget, but I think on budget, it's subject to general ops looking at it and making sure it should. be
Okay, so I should just wait till it comes to us.
What came to you, it was headed toward budget, but he wanted you guys to look at it before budget did the final approval.
But is there enough information there for us to look at to move it to next month, or should we move it back a couple
He
months?
he sent some questions to David, I think he CC'd us on. Probably would be a good one to move to next month, give it time to talk to Mr. Boyd a little bit.
Okay,
Because he knows more about it than anybody else, he's been working on it for quite a while.
okay.
He'd know more about it than I do before. But my understanding is, it is a separate building.
It's my understanding it's gonna be a new building, and that's what I sent to county engineer. All of the plans that the emergency services has seen, to this point shows the building sitting to the north of the existing building. So if that's the case, then we're into a new building, new structure, and again, is the Resource Authority gonna give us that much land? What's the survey show? Where's the edge, the barrier of the landfill that may have once been there that's not there because of the shape of the trees and the growth in the area? I mean, it's a lot of questions. So that's why we sent the idea for the survey to go to budget, and I think it came back a little over what we anticipated, but that we'll have to deal with that in budget when it gets there. So that's the questions that we've got. So pending surveys.
So the question is, does general office want to go ahead and explore it before it's surveyed and done environmental, or do they want to do it afterwards?
Mr. Chairman, maybe to help you save some time, and I'm not by all means on this committee, but I guess it's emergency services would request this go to next month, maybe even January, just so we can get the surveys back, if that's even goes through budget, and see where we're at that time.
So you want the survey to go ahead to the budget and then back to you guys?
Okay.
That's what I wondered,
So-
if it was better to go out
So
in 2
move it to
months.
January?
Do the environmental, move it to January, and the surveys to January, February.
Do we need to make a motion for
They're
that?
not asking for general ops to approve the survey too?
Well, I think right
That's
now
what I
what the
would-
understanding is from Darryl right now is for the budget to approve, if they're willing, the survey and the environmental, and then when it's done, to come back to general ops for them to look at the rest of the projects.
Okay, I'm just having a little trouble following why it would come to general ops at this stage if it's not to approve the next to this current step of doing the.
I think that's them, go ahead and start looking at it, we'll give them these couple of months. Because there was other questions about the tower and all the other
So
questions.
this is mostly to put it on the radar for this committee now, not.
Yeah. So there's really no
Give them time,
action.
give them time to
No
look
action
at
yet.
it, and just to get it on your agenda is an old item, really.
Okay.
Plus also legal, is to bring you in the loop too, is because I don't think there's been much discussion of what the resource authority is actually gonna give to the county. So that way it gets it back on everybody's radar, just for tracking.
When I asked a member of the resource authorities, in the meeting, we were told a small piece of land. I said, that didn't give me much detail.
I can see budget will do financials.
Is that not where the
logistics.
survey comes in?
That's where the survey would.
See, what you got right now
That's
is
what we're
budget will
doing,
do financing, but not logistics on that kind of thing, so it probably needs to be in both committees, it's the same.
Yeah.
Let you kind of get head.
Yeah, well, I'll get together with Daryl and
So are we still in
Chief
January?
Miller. and
Quick.
we'll-
I'll just let it drop into old business if not that.
And then just
Question-
go to
As long as you don't take
question
action, just keep dropping.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Question
put a line on you.
for Ben, for legal. Does any kind of EPA study need to be done for building a
That's
building
a
on?
part of what
prior?
was approved in the health emergency services.
Already covered?
Yeah, it was surveying and also making
Disregard.
sure with TDEC we're good as far as any,
Make sure. what-
not
I
disturbing
didn't hear
old
it mentioned,
landfill,
just making
getting a
sure.
Superfund site on our hands.
Totally good. So,
Okay, and finally,
I didn't deal with that.
Did we-
9C.
did we make motion?
We
don't have to.
don't have
It's
to
old
take
business.
action on it. 9C, I'd recommend we do the same thing since we're still investigating, you know, what to do with those two roofs. And I'll work with the mayor's office on, you know, getting that. So I think if we just take no action on it, it'll pass on to the next agenda. Do I have an motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Good meeting.
If it makes you feel better, I think definitely caught it where I said, John can make a quarterback in this report. I was like, I've been counting it.
That's right, I took my jacket off.
More knowledge Probably got that.
That many people got in here for education, that just, it skyrocketed, it's not going down until a lot more. Oh, it did, it was just, this room is not designed